Welcome, explorers, to your passport to the past. Today, we're exploring the people, places, and events that shaped our world. Today, we are going to dive into an important topic in American history: the causes of the American Revolution. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to identify and explain at least three key causes of the American Revolution, analyze their impact on the colonists, and connect these causes to the concept of fairness. This brings us to our essential question today, and what I want you to think about as we proceed through today's lesson. How do feelings of unfair treatment and lack of representation lead people to take action? Keep this question in the back of your mind as we explore this period of history. Before we get started, let's quickly review our classroom norms. Treat everyone with respect, actively listen to others, and do your best to be successful. Use your reaction buttons to show your thinking. I'm really looking forward to hearing your insights today. So let's take a look at the image to the left. It is of the Boston Tea Party. On the right side are images of modern day protests. What do you see happening? What emotions do you think the people in this picture are feeling? We'll come back to this idea a little later. But first, let's think about something personal. Think about a time you felt treated unfairly. Maybe you felt like a rule was unfair at home or at school, or that someone wasn't listening to your opinion in a group project. Take a moment and think about how that made you feel. Did you feel frustrated, angry, disappointed? Did you want to do something about it? Just like you might be part of a family or a school body or a team, the American colonies were part of the British Empire. This meant that Great Britain, an island across the Atlantic Ocean, was like the parent country and made many of the rules for the colonies. So let's think about rules for a moment. Why do we have rules? Yes, rules help keep things organized. I'm seeing great responses: fair, safe. But what happens when people feel like the rules themselves are unfair? Imagine if your parents suddenly started charging you a fee every time you watched the TV or used your phone. How would you feel about that? What if they made a rule that you couldn't leave your house after a certain time, even if you had made plans with friends? Would that seem fair? So let's brainstorm ways people can express their disagreement with rules or laws. And put your ideas in the chat, please. Yes, you mentioned talking to the person making the rules. Tyrone mentioned organizing a petition. Layla said protesting. Those are all great examples. So, remembering that feeling of being treated unfairly, let's keep that in mind as we explore what happened between Great Britain and the colonies. This will help us answer our essential question: how do feelings of unfair treatment and lack of representation lead people to take action? Let's do a quick review of some key vocabulary terms that will be important for understanding the American Revolution. Please take notes and annotate, as this forces us to pay attention and helps us stay focused during the lesson. The American Revolution, the first term, was a conflict between the American colonies and Great Britain that led to the founding of the United States. The next term. Can I get a volunteer to read that next term, please? Great. Thank you for volunteering. Yes, the taxation. Act of imposing a tax on individuals or businesses. Representation. Having a voice or being spoken for in a government or other decision making body. The next term is boycott. A refusal to buy or use goods or services as form of protest. And the next term is rebellion, an act of violent or open resistance to an established government. Understanding these terms will help us better analyze the events and perspectives of the American Revolution. Now let's explore the three main causes of the American Revolution. The first is taxation without representation. The second key term is British military measures. And the third, last, is colonial resistance. So over time, the colonists began to feel that Great Britain was treating them unfairly. The unfair treatment united the colonies against British rule and set the stage for the revolution. So the first cause was taxation without representation. Colonists had no representatives in the British Parliament, which meant they had no voice. The British government imposed taxes on the colonists without giving them any say in how the money was spent. Colonists felt this was unfair and violated their rights. Some examples of those unfair taxes was the Stamp Act. They put taxes on anything that was paper related or even playing cards. The Sugar Act and the Tea Act. How would you feel if your school decided to charge tuition or have you pay for your textbooks without asking for your input? Would you be happy about that? Next, we have British military measures. The British sent troops to the move forward on there. Yeah, so we have British military measures. The British sent troops to the colonies to enforce laws and maintain order. This made many colonists feel like they were being occupied rather than protected. And how do you think this made the colonists feel? Okay. And our third cause is the colonial resistance. Colonists began to organize protests and boycotts against British goods. The resistance was a way for them to stand for their rights. Over time, the colonists developed a strong sense of identity as Americans. They shared common experiences and beliefs, which united them against British rule. Now, let's connect these causes to the concept of fairness. The colonists felt it was unfair to be taxed without representation and have British troops in their homes. How do you think fairness played a role in their decision to fight for independence? So let's recap, do a quick review. What were the three key causes the colonists were upset with Great Britain? You can cold call or you can put it into the chat. Yes, I see a lot of responses in the chat. One was taxation without representation, the colonial resistance, definitely, and British military measures. Those were the three key causes that we discussed today. Great, great job. And how do these reasons connect to the idea of fairness and having a voice? Yes, exactly, Penny. They felt like they were being treated unfairly and lacked representation in the British government. To assess your understanding, I'll be using the poll feature. Please answer the following question. You guys ready? Okay. Which of the three causes do you think was the most important in leading to the American Revolution? Okay, so the largest percentage was 70% for the colonial resistance. That was that definitely led to the intolerable acts and taxation without representation. That was 25%, and 3% was the 5% was the British military measures. Okay, great. So they felt like they were being treated unfairly and lacked representation in the British government. Yes, definitely. So let's bring it back to our essential question. I feel like you guys have a really good idea, a good grasp on the concept, the three main causes that led to the American Revolution. So, how did these feelings of unfair treatment and lack of representation lead the colonists to take action? I'm reading the responses in the chat. They protested, yes. They boycotted, definitely. And eventually they declared independence and fought for their freedom. So, great job, everyone. You've identified some crucial factors that led to the American Revolution. Molly and Tyrone, those were thoughtful connections you made about the impact of feeling unheard. And how can we ensure everyone in our classroom and school feels like they have a voice and are treated fairly? How can we apply the lessons of the American Revolution to our own lives and communities? You can write it in chat. Today, we're not going to break off into groups. We're just going to put our ideas in the chat and discuss. Great discussion, everyone. Great insights and great thoughts on the idea of fairness. Before you leave, I will leave the last slide posted of the exit ticket. You can choose one of the three options. Option one, write one sentence summarizing each of the three causes we discussed. Option two is to draw a picture that represents one of the causes of the American Revolution and write a short caption explaining it. Or option three, explain how one of the causes of the American Revolution relates to the idea of fairness. Thank you, everyone. We will now continue our discussion and our independent assignment. Great job.